Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to BT Forum's Wednesday webinar. Today, our topic will be value streams. This is a very much requested topic, and we will also be recording these sessions. Some of you who have enrolled shared questions beforehand, and we will address those questions towards the end of this presentation. To some, surely you will get answers also as we move along with the presentation, but if there are any that are left unanswered, we will get back to those during the presentation. So let's first start with a short generic introduction to the business technology standard, as there are first joiners. So then you are more informed of what this is about. So Business Technology Forum is maintaining and developing and distributing an open framework called the Business Technology Standard. It is an extremely good framework and it is free to use. It is co-creatively developed with over 50 Nordic organizations from public sector as well as private companies. It is cross-organizational and verified by the academia as well, and all related to is not for profit. So it is really to foster a fair digital economy for everyone. With the Business Technology Forum, we share all that is developed for the benefit of the community. So our way of working is such that we share materials, then we co-develop with different companies and organizations and individuals. We bring the learnings back to the Business Technology Standard, which is the openly available framework. And then we develop those further. So this makes it evident that the model is evergreen and it is never outdated, but instead continuously updated. There are a few different ways to take advantage of the Business Technology Standard. So if you are, say, consulting, working with business technology, leading, improving it for any given organization, you can consider this self-deployment track. So the standard is freely available at managebt.org, also in Finnish. And you can study it and then also request to take a green card exam, which will then certify that you have gained a basic understanding of the model itself. Then you can follow up different materials that we share via that website and via LinkedIn. Good idea to follow us on LinkedIn also to get the latest insights. You can then take the model into use by assigning different roles and suggesting to others also within your organization to take the green card exam and become familiar with the standard. It is a possible path to take. Then, of course, there is a certain resource scarcity in many organizations, so there is also the possibility for assisted deployment. So Business Technology Forum has certified implementation partners, such as Sofigate in the Nordics or Xonetic in the UK, Ireland, and Scotland area. And it is possible also then to request support for implementing some or all parts of the standard. And often I have heard discussions addressing, for example, that, okay, so why should we implement the standard? And I like to often think that it's more like understanding what challenges do you have in your organization. For example, is the time from idea to production too long, or is it difficult to control where the demand is coming from, or are you experiencing challenges with how to prioritize the development, or with transferring digital development from development to run phase, or where the challenges are? Is the governance too complex or inefficient? So then the business technology standard it's exactly the right place to pinpoint how could we start fixing this particular area. But of course, with the operating model, it also provides a comprehensive model for improving all areas of an organization. So self-deployment and assisted deployment are both possible. There are different ways also to join the community and take part in the co-creation. So like mentioned, managebt.org website provides all the information you need for becoming familiar with the standard. It is a really useful guidebook. And also the Business Technology Forum, in addition to the free course, we provide other training courses in Malaga. And then we co-create and provide workshops and other forms for participating in the co-creation of the standard. Here is still a recap of the different certification training levels. So on the left-hand side here, you can see the BP standard green card. So that is like a reading comprehension test. It is free of cost for now, and anyone can request to take that and then increase their knowledge. Then if we extend a bit, we provide also practitioner courses, after which the person also receives a business technology standards certified practitioner certification and access to the extension materials of the business technology standard. So the managebt.org currently features about 100 pages of very easily understandable, very practical information. But in addition, there are these deep dive materials that require a little bit more of educatedness to then deploy. So then after this course, access to those materials is also provided. Then there are yet deeper diving courses like the Business Technology Operating Designer or Data Governance Designer, End-to-End Development Designer or Service Governance Designer course. And these courses ensure that the person is then able to translate the extension materials also for making those relevant for the organization in question. So, so then those are shared in PowerPoint format at that stage. But we shall not linger in the generic part any longer, but instead I would like to welcome Katri Kolesnik, the president for the Business Technology Forum, and Elena van Lemput, who is the Chief Technology Officer for Business Technology Forum. So welcome, Katri and Elena.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And you will both be today here to share your expertise on the value streams, which is our key topic for this Wednesday webinar. And I would like to start by asking, why exactly do we need the value streams? What are they for? What's the point?
Right. So maybe I start and tell that actually you might not need value streams at all. So in case, let's say that you don't have any problems in handling the demand, doing the planning with the business and prioritizing the different development initiatives, then you actually can cope with the enterprise level portfolio steering, because value streams are portfolios. But then again, if you move to the next slide, we have this illustration to define when you might be needing then the value stream. So let's say that you have more development needs than that exceeds the organization's implementation capacity, or here you see like the greens and reds and black demands, and you start to understanding that, hey, these seem to be some sort of a similar kind of business needs. Why don't we bundle them together? So wouldn't that be then something that we need to do? And but then again, we might also see that a lot of these development needs go across several business units. And then we see that it would be wise to actually handle them in one place, in one portfolio, but we might then lack to have a clear ownership who should then be there to decide what to develop and what not. So if we have this kind of situation, like in the picture on the right, it means that then our portfolio steering can become a bottleneck, and we are not able to anymore add any business value to our decisions, because we have to take those decisions so fast that we are not able to sort of sit back and consider what we want to do. So therefore, there needs to be a really clear need to have a value stream, and normally you see that okay, you are able to pinpoint the certain things that are happening in the organization, and then you think that okay, we must do things differently. So that's the starting point.
Good. So value streams are not needed when the demand and development portfolio can handle prioritization and dependencies, but then when it becomes more complicated, then that it can become a bottleneck, and then value streams can be the helping hand in organizing that.
Exactly.
Well, then when we think about how the value streams work, so what are the key principles related to those?
Yeah, maybe I can take that one. Well, if you go into the next slide, and I'm going to continue a bit with what Katja was saying, without a value stream, essentially, the coordinating and management of these multiple tasks that Katja was talking about, initiatives and all that, it becomes really challenging. And the process of translating the needs into that essentially actionable task relies very heavily on coordination. So if there are numerous tasks, like mentioned earlier, to be coordinated, these roles and these essentially these coordination becomes a bottleneck. And in the coordination process, it will hinder essentially the ability to efficiently allocate any resources or prioritize needs. But then they also have they will also miss the chance to actually add any values. So with value streams, if we look at how that goes in the next slide, we will see that the value streams actually create a more focused group where we can create values. So the coordination occurs within a specific stream, and these value streams are defined according to either business or technology or something like that. And then after that, we involve the correct people, and we have the actual, well, essentially, because value stream is a more permanent structure, so you can involve the resources, the right resources, and they would have the understanding of what the goals are, what the objectives are of the value stream, and how they can prioritize those different initiatives. And they have these resources that know their responsibilities to create value. So the collaboration and so on is more smooth, and then they're able to generate more value and think about what kind of value the development flows would essentially bring to the organization.
Good.
And sorry, just to add that the value stream actually has always an owner, and that's the head of value stream, as you see there, and then it also has its own steering group.
So is it a correct interpretation to say that these value streams also help to break silos and improve the end-to-end coordination?
Definitely.
So in practice, it has an owner and some kind of steering body, but how does a value stream actually function?
Okay, I could continue from here. So now we go into a bit more complex picture over here. So first of all, we have to think that a value stream has a mission. And in BT standard thinking, it is very important that we really think, what is the mission? What are we wanting to achieve? And as Elena said, on a longer perspective, because often organizations have programs that they run. But the problem with the programs is many times that after the financing, it has been stopped, and the program is ended. there's nobody really to carry on and take forward those developments done. So these value streams have a bit more longer term perspective, and thereby there is a mission that is then formed together with the steering group. And the steering group then consists of people or roles necessary to have there to make decisions. And many times these are people from different business units, for example. So we gather people that should be there to make decisions on what we want to do within this value stream. And this is how we avoid having the silos, because we are doing this together. But then again, it requires a lot from the owner, the head of value stream, to be being this kind of person with passion to achieve, and then also very good communication skills and interpersonal skills to get people on board in making these decisions together. So on top of that we have then essentially, ideally, business people, they're deciding what we want to do, what is our mission. Then there is the management team consisting of different roles like the enterprise architect, the business information officer, which is the representative of the IT in the value stream, looking things from the value stream perspective. There is an own portfolio managed officer in the value stream. There is the data owner, the security officer, and the service manager. So these are helping then the value stream leads to see that, okay, what's possible, and from the technology point of view, to coordinate things. And that coordination then goes across multiple value streams. So all in all, the value stream then has and defines a mission, but not a vision, only the mission, and it relies on the situation awareness that brings in then this kind of sudden things that could happen, like, for example, Corona or whatever changes the way we need to see things. So then they are able to really react fast. But the actual work then happens in the development collective. So that is where the people who have the knowledge and understanding what we want to do. So they form then the vision on how do we get there to fulfill the mission of this value stream, and what could be the good development that needs to be done, and then they make the development request to be then decided by the steering group. So there is where we actually concretely think what we are going to do in terms of development or projects, and then they are taken to the portfolio for the value stream that can then prioritize and make the decisions. So that's in a nutshell how a value stream functions.
So on this slide, we introduced the value stream, the development collective, and the portfolio steering. Yes. That are all essentials in ensuring that the vision and mission are clearly defined, and that the value is also created.
Exactly.
Well, then we have also the operating model. So how do we actually implement a value stream based operating model?
Well, yeah, I will continue with this. So first of all, this can be very challenging, and this is one of those things that are maybe one of the most challenging things to define is that how do we define then with what kind of value stream we should have, because we are sort of defining the development needs for the future. So we cannot just describe the current situation, and we all know that when we need to define something and change something, it's always a challenge. And but the thing is that this is very company or organization specific, so there is no one answer to this, that what are the correct value streams. But if we now take a bit of the animation coming, so what you need to think of, or how you can form them, is to think of from the different perspectives. So the first one which comes here is the business perspective. So if you put that on Lotta, I can't see now the animation. Yes, So this is a very typical way, and everybody can recognize that maybe already we have this kind of perspective or this type of way that we actually steer the development. So we have the different business units, and those definitely are good value stream candidates. Or then we might have the kind of strategic perspective. This kind of must-win battles. I think a lot of companies now are thinking of the sustainability, for instance, that, okay, how do we then support the sustainability, reaching the sustainability targets with technology? That might be a very good candidate for a value stream as well. Or then thirdly, we can think of the company's value chains. That are already there. What are there? Are there really important things to consider in our business? Like in here, we have this. In this example, we are using example of the department store. So there you can understand that, okay, however we get the logistics going, and the logistics processes are very important. And then fourth perspective would be maybe this kind of solution platform. This comes maybe from the IT perspective more, that we have the different platforms there, and should we then consider those? So all of these four are, and the things in these four perspectives are very good candidates for the value stream. But when we think that how will we, what kind of value streams we should have in the future, because now we are talking about going cross-functional, then making sure that what is coming from our strategy are implemented and all other things are happening. So then we go to the combination, which is then what the business technology standard proposes, the way of thinking, which is the fifth perspective here. So for instance, for this particular example, when we think of a department store that maybe used to be the kind of shop you went there in person and you bought the things, but now that of course e-commerce is there, so it's very important. And if we have like multiple department stores in multiple countries and maybe different brands as well, the digital experience might be something that we want to do the same for all our department stores in all the countries, whereas we might then have a bit of different approach to the store experience. So we have one value stream just for the store, and separating these two, because the customer experience in both are, is different. And then we can have the operations perspective. For this type of business, it's very important that how we handle the how we get the goods in our the process, the logistics to get the goods into our store or online shop, and then how we deliver to the customers. And then again, we need to today a lot of organizations are thinking of the employee experience, how do we retain and also attract the talents and so forth. So these are just the examples, and just to illustrate you that every time you will be starting to think what are the correct value streams, you really need to start a discussion with the top management and then think of these different perspectives and come into a conclusion that, okay, these are the value streams maybe that work in our organization. And then if we go to the next slide, there are two ways to sort of implement these. Either you do the top down, where actually from the really highest level of the organization, we decide that these are our value streams, and then you form typically from 4 to 8, maximum 10 value streams that covers those candidates that we were having in the previous slides, and then those value streams then each define their development collectives, and within there you will have then the teams that are doing the actual development. Or then on the right hand side you have this other approach that you go bottom up, and this might be then easy way to start little by little moving into this kind of value stream kind of thinking and organizing based on the value streams, that you start to sort of recognize that, okay, here we have some development needs that seem to be similar to each other. why don't we start a team, put those teams together that are developing similar things, and then we think that, okay, could this form a development collective? And then when we have a couple of development collectives, we might be starting to think that, okay, maybe this actually could be a value stream. So both of the approaches are possible, and it depends a lot on the organization, the maturity, and I would say the business's readiness to do this type of transformation in steering and managing the development needs.
Okay, there was also in the chat a question related to, isn't this a bit similar to SAFe? But let's discuss a little bit about Agile world. So if we work in Agile teams, how can we implement the value streams?
Yes, the question is actually very good. So if you work in Agile teams, you can implement value stream exactly the same way. And we have some terminologies that perhaps can mirror or can reflect the Agile world as well. So value stream can be known as a tribe in an Agile sense. And of course, development collectives, you can see those as team of teams, and any development initiatives that they bring out in the roadmap can be essentially fed and considered as epics. And portfolio increments can also be program increments, and so on. So these different arrows that you see with the two guys there, those are essentially the development flows within the value stream. So these terminologies will enable you to actually reflect on what that means in Agile. And there was a question saying, like, isn't this very close to a SAFe model? Yes, it is the same idea, but there are a little bit of differences, which maybe you can find out a bit more during the presentation. And I also wanted to maybe address the question about that was not shown to everyone, but it came to the panelists, what's the difference between a process and a value stream? And these essentially have different aspects of the workflow and the value creation. So we're talking about, when we say value stream, we're talking about the focus is on like end-to-end value creation. It considers all the resources, the governance, the continuous value creation. So it has both processes and activities within it, whereas the process is focused on just some sort of task that are input and output in a way. So I hope that answers that question. Thanks, Lotta.
So if we go deeper yet into the practicalities, so how does a value stream work in practice? Now we discussed about input and output and the process view. So how does a value stream work in practice?
Maybe I can give an example here. And to start off this example, let's say that I'm going to use this something called a GLS, which is called the Global Luxury Store. It is actually just an example organization that we created to illustrate more the value streams and so on. And here you can see the operating model, which is also known as the hockey rink, famous picture here, where you see the flow from demand development to services from left to right, and that also means plan, build, and run. That's essentially the development flows. And on the left side, you see that there are these blue inputs going through these, using these development flows. So those are the value streams. And here, the GLS's value stream, they define 5 of them. The customer experience, employee experience, inbound performance, outbound performance, operation management. And from that, perhaps you can guess what kind of industry GLS is in. So GLS, a global luxury store, is actually a retail store, which is focused on sustainability and so on. And they sell this type of consumable products. So there they have actually a couple of stores. So they have they're global, and they have a few stores which are physical, and they also have an on-site online store. So their drivers, so to speak, are customer loyalty, integrated online and on-site stores, and they want to have efficiency and speed in their operations. So this is the example that we'll be using. And from that, if you go to the next one, I would like to perhaps give this example from a perspective of a minimum viable creation framework. So when we're talking about having a value stream and how that could be working properly, we're talking about having three value creation components. That is to set up first a value stream, to have a development collective, and then to have a development team. So here on the screen, you can see that on the left side, there is a demand planning and consolidation done in the development collective. That's one item. And that is done inside the value stream. And the value stream itself is up there, known also as tribe, as mentioned earlier. They have essentially the strategic alignment and the portfolio management on that level. And then, of course, we need to have domains and to manage services, technology, and ecosystems, and so on. And then you have another component there, which is the team level component. That's the end-to-end value creation team that are responsible for the actual development of those initiatives. And they are essentially created or established by the value stream portfolio management. So this just a little bit of background for you. And what type of roles do we have in there? We can see that in the following slide. Here you can see the three different progress flow that we can look at. So the roles in a value stream, there are a few key roles that we need to have. So you need to have an owner, first of all. And the owner can also be the head of value stream. And their job is essentially to make sure that the value stream is having all the resources they need, has the mandate, has the sponsorship, and all that budgeting and so on. And they are essentially handling the portfolio, and which is one of the key elements in a value stream. And on the other side of that, we have the business information officer, and their job is to help the value stream make sure that everything is working. Technology can be useful for the business and so on. So make sure that the business needs are taken into account, and that all of the whatever, for example, the business technology group is doing is actually according to the objectives and strategy. So like Katri mentioned, the value stream has the mission and has the situational awareness. So what is the current status and what is the current state of their essentially their business? And then we have in the development collective, which is, by the way, like a virtual not organization, but like a virtual entity. And there we have business owners and product owners working together with the business capability owners and so on. So they will be the ones defining and creating the demand planning and so on with the other with the other roles in the value stream. And then we have there the end-to-end development, and there we can have project managers, scrum masters, or service managers, depending on what type of development we're talking about. All right, so those are different roles that we see, and this is essentially illustrating the minimum viable demand to service flow. So now, if we take back our example of the GLS, so go forward from here, we will see how this will be done in practice. So let's say that we take one of the GLS's value stream, which is the customer experience. A customer experience value stream, having established that, will need an owner. So the next thing that you do after establishing the value stream, number one there is, the second one is to elect an owner for that. So the head of value stream. Then the head of value stream's job is to start out start the value stream. And what do? They need to essentially form a steering group, and those steering groups are consisting of capability owners, the different let's say people who have some stake inside of the value stream, like all the disciplines that are needed, so development, portfolio, security, data, and so on. So they're the ones that are going to be making decisions, and there is a group, small group of steering body, but you can by on demand also take in other decision makers or influencers that are able to decide on certain initiatives. So after they are formed, what happens is that they will together formulate a mission for this value stream. So that's the number 4 there. So formulate the mission, and based on that, they need to understand the situational awareness as well. So customer experience mission can, for example, be, in the next slide, we can see what that could be for GLS. So as I mentioned, GLS is like a sustainable retailer, and they have a mission to actually revolutionize their digital customer experience by fostering the development of a cohesive and user-centric interface. So what does that mean? They want to have the experience for the customer both on site and online the same way. There has to be consistency in the customer journey and so on. So there shouldn't be a gap at all, whether or not you order in store or you order online. The way you return the products, the way you are being treated and handled, how you see the brand has to be consistent. So that's essentially their mission. So once they have defined that, what would they be doing next is, let's see, there we go. They have to essentially think inside that value stream, what kind of developments would they be needing? And here, pretty much what happens is that they will come up with development collectives, and development collectives in this case would I'm going to give 3 examples: personalization and customization, and within that we're talking about having some different initiatives. So development collective is actually having some initiatives in it as well, meaning like each development collective has a few initiatives in it, so it's not just that. So personalization and customization could have, for example, personalized recommendations, you tailor market messaging, you customize service offerings, and so on. So this could be the different development initiatives within that first box. And then they also want to have a seamless omni-channel experience, for example. And what could that mean? That could mean integration of the online, the mobile, in-store, social media channels, and so on. So that is one collective there. And then the last one, of course, to have some sort of platform or tools to support all of their initiatives. They have something called platforms and knowledge base. So what does that mean? Well, for them, that would mean like having a CRM system, for example, a CRM meaning a platform that can help manage customer interactions and relationships, and let's say stores customer data, tracks communication history, enables personalized engagement, and so on. So that's the IT part, the technology part, to what they really want for their business processes. Then, of course, their business process, they also want to have other things like omni-channel experience. So you need to also have an omni-channel experience platform. So that could mean like integrating various customer interaction channels, like websites, mobile apps, social media, physical stores. So they want that to be seamless. So they need to put that together. And of course, I could mention another platform that they could have, for example, a centralized system for collecting and organizing and analyzing customer data. So that could be something like a CDMP. So those type of platforms. And of course, I mentioned also knowledge base. So they nothing happens without having a certain knowledge base to sort of pull from. So they need to have or host a comprehensive knowledge base containing frequently asked questions, for example, troubleshooting guides and instructions materials to support the customer. So this is what they would be setting up. So those are what they have come up with as development collectives. Now, what they need to do is then get owners for each of those development collectives. So number 5 there, select business owners for each of those. Before they can continue and actually request any prioritization for any of these, they'll have to select a business owner. And like I mentioned in my in the principles of value stream, you need to have essentially people who are knowledgeable about these initiatives. So these business owners will know exactly what kind of business value they need to have from this particular development. After they have created the development, for example, create the development vision, create the context dynamics, and the development initiatives for each of these development collectives, what they're going to do is then add that to a roadmap. So each development collective will have their own roadmap, which they will be working on. So they will prioritize from that roadmap and suggest their initiatives to the portfolio. So they're going to take it up to the value stream portfolio, who will then essentially give them approval or prioritize within that value stream, prioritize the different initiatives and make sure that what they're prioritizing is according to their set strategic vision and so on, and mission. So as I mentioned, the value stream has a certain mission. If you go to the next one, you can see that what they need to do then, the development collective is taken up to the portfolio, and they will request portfolio steering group for decision making. After that is decided, we can see in the next one that the value stream, after they get the approvals for whatever they want to develop, they will then form these end-to-end development teams. So in here, in this example, it depends on what kind of development needs they have. For example, platform, they can have agile teams, and to be able to train their customers or train their employees and so on, they need to have some sort of training program for each of these. So they will be that can be like taken as a project. And of course, they will have to continuously develop something, and that could be taken as solution management. So the end-to-end governance is something that depends on what kind of, let's say, what kind of initiatives and development they're creating. They will be able to choose from an end-to-end governance perspective, whether it should be a project, could be an end-to-end DevOps, or it could be solution management. A project means that it always has a beginning and an end. The end-to-end DevOps are teams that are developing and releasing towards operation and also supporting their product. So that could be an agile team, and solution management is something that focuses on continuous development. So the value stream would be essentially establishing these flows. And as you can see there, I have circled also these 3 roles. So depending on what kind of flow there is, so there can be many of these flows, right, within a value stream. There could be a project manager for projects, for a scrum master dealing with the product owner, and so on for end-to-end development. Then we have the service manager who will then handle the solution management. If these terminologies are new to you, we have quite basic information that you could actually read about these inside the standard itself. So you can perhaps hear more about the training opportunities that are coming up for that. And did I forget something now here? Yeah, one thing I wanted to still mention was that the roadmap that are created from the development collective actually is fed into the backlog once they are prioritized, and the backlog is then containing the different list and items that will be developed. Regardless of whether or not we're talking about the gate-based development or agile development, in the business technology standard, we always have a roadmap and a backlog to essentially do the development.
Thanks, Elena. This was really a practical hands-on example. And some were already asking, this recording will be shared at managebt.org, and all the previous and upcoming recordings of our webinars can be found there, as well as there is a lot of information here. So it can be that you would like to go back to a certain topic or tip a colleague of this content. But then maybe if we then, towards the end of our webinar, go to the Q&A topics. Katri and Elena, are there some you feel that we haven't addressed yet that you would like to take up from here?
Yes, maybe just to highlight a couple of things. I think mostly we answered those, but I think then there are questions that are related more on the comparison of using SAFe, for instance. And I think one thing to understand is that in BTS, the value streams are portfolios, whereas in SAFe, they are more referring to the more operational level of value streams. So I think that's the basic difference, and that makes it a bit different from the how SAFe handles the value streams. But all in all, it is a question about that the organization decides that the developments are then going through the value streams. So it really needs that decision that, yeah, we are operating through the value streams, and we don't allow sort of, or we can even have other types of steering, but certain initiatives will always go through the value streams, where we are doing the demand planning, and thereby you get the value streams then to have the role that they should have, and especially if you allocate money, the resources into the value stream, then it makes it happening more efficiently. And another thing is that there is not so much of the handover phase between the organizations, because the whole BT standard thinking is that through the roles, we actually implement everything. So they are the people working and having different roles in different phases of the development. And it doesn't matter from which organizational unit the person is coming from, because they are part of this development flow with their role. So therefore, we are then sort of not having to be afraid of silos or the information not flowing. There are, and there on top of that, there are the end-to-end roles whose job it is really to make sure that everything flows seamless across the different phases of the development. So I think these are mostly those things that were asked, and then about where do the people actually then do the actual development and can have they say about what shall we develop, and that happens in the development collectives. So that's the place where we do the demand planning, and any person in the organization can be part of that demand, because they are sort of asked as a business owner, for instance, to take part to that. If you go to the next slide, some other questions, no, the previous, just to add there, I would say that all in all, it is really meant to break the silos between the different business functions and units. So with the value stream, you can make this happen in case that you design the value streams to be cross-functional and cross the different business functions. But all the answers are there, and when you have the recording, you can then read also the answers from the recording.
So here our Wednesday webinar has come to an end, but just a reminder about the upcoming courses here on the last slide. So this spring, many of the courses are already complete, and around this topic of the BT operating model and the value streams, then the next training opportunities in the still, I could imagine, rather warm Malaga are upcoming in October. So these courses and all the other courses can also be found in managebt.org, where we share all relevant information regarding the business technology standard. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this afternoon, and Katri and Elena for presenting your insights into the value streams. We will conclude this session here, and wishing everyone a really nice continuation of this spring week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.